Shut up and sit down.
Hello, gang. Colin here, Festa 67's workshop, but welcome to part 3 of the Titanic build. Now, I've got a big old plumb line tape down the side of the hull here because we are going to be painting a bit of red. Now, I'm using a bit of Umbro whole red on this one, and I'm going to stipple it on just to give it a bit of texture. So, yeah, and that's what we're going to be doing along the tape edge. Now I've put the tape on and I've gone along it with a pottery knife just to get the tape to bed down, because you've got all your panels that overlap and the rivets and all of that, and I'm just going to stipple this finish on and let it dry, because that way you don't get the brush strokes in it. And then once this is dry, I'll go over it probably with a nice matte varnish just to knock the shine off of it, and then have a looky-loo at it and see what I think, and then possibly finally go over it with a little Starship filth, just to try and get a bit of the Starship filth in some of the rebates and places like that. Not a heavy coat, because obviously this ship wouldn't have had a lot of weathering on it. But my sort of thing is, I've got it on the stand, so therefore it's in dry dock, so it would have had a bit of rain and smog and detritus from the local weather around it, and you know, the smoke from the building process. So it's that sort of urban weathered look about it before it gets its final clean, before it gets that's the theory anyway. Purists out there will probably go, oh, it was probably floated before the decks went on or whatever. But in my little Festa world, that's kind of, yeah. And like I say, it just defines some of the panel edges, because this is going to be sat up on a shelf at the end of my man cave, quite a distance away. And by over-exaggerating some of the panel lines, I sort of think, well, from where I'm sat, I'll just be able to see some of the definition of it. So that's my reasoning for it, and I'm happy with it. So we'll put a little bit of stipplage round her rump or Harris, and give her a bit of TLC around her curves there, and having a bit of a dippage along the rudder there, like so. Come round by the propellers, and they're going to get brushed with brass, so they'll look pretty swift poking out there, giving it the old swingy whirly bit. So just quickly check to make sure that I'm not missing any bits. There you go. And then just stipple underneath. And I've had these 2 pots of Umbro since I did me bus, and I've been kicking around wondering what to do with them. And yeah, so the old Nimitz is going to get a bit of the old treatment and all, I reckon. I'm not sure whether military vessels have a red bottom half of an hull or not. I'd have to have a little looky-loo at some pictures of it, because the box has long since been burnt on the bonfire. So yeah. But I've got the old Nimitz flat top up there that I'm going to be doing a bit of work on. So answers on a postcard whether the military ships have a bit of a red hole going on, but I'll do a bit of Googling later. But we just stipple along, and I'll probably do the first coat. If I have missed any tiny little bits, I'm hoping that the Starship filth will find them and just find a home, and weathering can disguise a multitude of sins. But yeah, and it just looks then, with it stippled, that the old workers have been there with the paintbrushes and mops painting her. Because I sometimes find with an airbrush it just looks too clean, doesn't it? And you think, well, in the shipyard it would have been done with, you know, especially in this day and age, it would have been done with the big brushes and mops and all of that lot. So yeah. And she's beginning to come together quite nicely, actually, this ship. And again, if you haven't got a lot of room, it's not a bad little scout to do these in, if I'm honest. So if you're toiling with the idea of doing a ship and you haven't got a lot of room, grab something at this scale and have a go. See how you get on with it. Okay, so we'll come over the sides there like that. Bit of a swirly just to capture a few of the edge panel lines there. Okay, yeah. And I think with a matte coat on this should dull down quite nicely and give that almost burgundy sort of dull hue. So, and we got these old plates that run along the side here. I don't know what they're for, but whether it's something to do with the water channeling along them and it gives a bit of stability in the sea, I don't know, but it's probably a name for them. But yeah, I just call them the bits of plate welded to the side. See, I'll go for maximum stippling just to give it a bit of roughness, like so. Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, we'll come round over the top of that. So a quick gander. Yeah. Start just working my way along the panel edge there towards where we've painted, just to give it its once over. So just carry on stippling, folks. It is really that easy. And I try to do that on older stuff rather than get the airbrushes out. I think, well, when it was made, it probably wasn't sprayed with a machine, so yeah, for me it just gives a little bit of realism. Probably would notice more on the larger scale ones as well, the big 200 scale ones and that. If you've done it with airbrush, is it going to look too smooth and nice, whereas the texture of brush strokes or stippling or different thicknesses of paint, it would be, well, there's two different blokes were painting that bit, and one was a bit heavy with the paint and one was a bit thrift. So I don't know. Again, purists will probably know exactly how she was made, every rivet that went in, and how she was painted, and I could be totally wrong. But for me, it's not modelling it. So yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. There you go. So, work our way just along this bit. That's nearly half of it done already. And then we've got black that's going above where the red is. And then you've got the probably a couple of rows at the top that are just white, ready for the outer parts of the decking. I'll just move my camera there so you can see, because I keep going off shot, folks. Apologies for that. I was a bit close with the camera. There you go. You can see it all now. And I'll tell you something, this old umbrella paint, people knock it, but for something like this, it really does give you good coverage. I mean, I've done the interior of my London bus with this paint, and it gave it that old burgundy look that I remember from when I was a kid. And then when I weathered the inside and dirtied it up a bit with a few fag butts and the obligatory rolling Coke can that used to drive you nuts as it went round the corner, I found it worked really well. So yeah, bit of London busage. And it's funny, I just recently edited all of them videos on my channel because of the background noise. And I was, it was reminiscing time for Festa as I was watching one of my earliest builds taking shape. And yeah, cool, there's a lot I'd do differently now with it, don't get me wrong, but the second one I did for one of my mates, I did with all the nano LEDs and that, so it made it a lot easier to hide everything. Whereas when I did mine, I only had 3 and 5 mil LEDs in the armory, so to speak. So I had to be quite brutal with chopping stuff out to get them to fit in. Whereas with his one, it was so much easier, and it was a better result as well. So he's got his sat there, and yeah, it's got his favourite bands on it and his favourite films. So yeah. But yeah, that was a surprise. That was. It was like, he came round to visit us to see how I was doing and spotted it, and I liked that, and he had a good old looky loo, and we switched it on and showed him. And about a fortnight later, there's a knock on the door, and he stood there with a London bus box with a smile on his face and giving me the puppy dog eyes. And he's like, "Would you build me one?" I'm like, "Of course I will." So that was bus number 2, and pretty much it was similar for bus number 3 and all. So yeah, if you haven't built one, go and grab one. Go and grab a London bus. You'll be surprised. They are a lovely little build. Davey's just got one, my sidekick, off the Wednesday at the bench and the Sunday brunch shows. He's watched me edit all my videos and started re-watching them with us, because I said to him, there's the before and here's the after with the audio differences. What do you reckon? And then he started re-watching them, and he decided, something, I want to have a go at one of them, and he's gone and bought himself one. So someone else who's got a bus now. So yeah, happy days. So I just come along here now with a bit of the black, and there's a decal that goes along here, so I'm not too worried if I go slightly over or under anywhere, because once I've got the decal on and I've gone along this with a bit of filth, it'll probably pick up any little bits that may or may not be missed. So I'm not overly fussed at the moment. And the whole red has already dried, so I've masked over that just to try and get as straight a line as I can, because we don't want it too wonky. But yeah, at this stage, it's getting the first layer of all the paint down, and then I can come back at her, have a looky loo, and see what I think. So that's what we're going to be doing with that. Just come along that edge there, like that. Work our way to the bit we've already done. Just trying to keep a bit of a straight line there, but again, happy accidents and all of that lot, as Bob Ross would say. It just gives you that first layer of paint down, and then I'm going to let this dry, take all the tape off, and see then whether when it's dry there's any little touch-up jobs that I need to do, where I might have gone a bit wonky or whatever, and then I'll do that. Get the white down, probably take 2 or 3 coats of white, and then we can look at it, mat it, and then go, right, let's get a bit of the old grunge and filth and stuff like that, and just grunge it up a tad. Not too bad though. Probably put a bit of the old Starship base sludge on it, if I'm honest. It might be a little less intrusive than the filth. We'll see. So I'll just work my way around the stern of the ship where the props are, and then we should be able to flip her over and do the other side then. So yeah, I think that's where we'll go with it. Just quickly come along there, grab that little bit, just smooth that around the curve of the stern there, and then just flick along this edge, just tidy that up a tad, like so. I'm surprised someone somewhere, especially with the billionaires around the world, I'm surprised someone hasn't built one of these full size as almost like a floating museum or tourist attraction, because I think a lot of people would go see it. Could you imagine it? A one-on-one replica of a Titanic sat there, and you can go round and have a looky-loo at how she would have looked, because it's one of those iconic vessels that we all wonder about as to how she looked. And there's got to be there's multi-billionaires out there like the guy from Amazon and Bill Gates and people like that. And I'm surprised one of them hasn't looked at it and gone, do you know something? We could commission one of these and build it and have it sited somewhere, perhaps one in Belfast and one in New York. And tourists would go over and have a good old goosey, wouldn't they, to have a looky-loo in there. And I would. I'd go and have a walk round and a good old nose, because I am a bit of a nosy old sod, and I've seen the film, and you sit there and you think, well, yeah, having a walk round that, having a good old, well, what's in here? I think they would be sitting on a little gold mine, to be honest with you. But you never know. Would you go and see it? If there was a couple of replicas of these, one stateside and one in the UK, would you folks be willing to pay, I don't know, 20, 30 quid to go and have a day of looking around the replicas of the Titanic and, I don't know, reliving it? Because you think, on the anniversary of it, you could have a big event where you all go, you go to see it, don't you? And you're all in costume and suited and booted and, giving it ye olde. Yeah, I'd be well up for some of that. I'd go in all me steampunk garb, mate, giving it the beans. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that would work. So, let's have a little look then. Probably have a go at the props and get a bit of the brass on there, I reckon. So, I'm using the Vallejo brass. Paint was 70801 for those that are interested. It came with the metals, model colour metal set. So we'll put a bit of that in a little thing on my wet palette, and I think we'll have a bit of propeller painting. Won't need a lot of paint because there's only the three of them. So we'll have a smidge on that, and I might brush paint the first coat down on the plaque as well on the base. Do that with the brass, and then I shall go over it again with a bit of old gold, so it looks like the gold's worn and it's tarnished, and that's the theory anyway. So we'll just try and spin her around so that we can make this a bit easier. And yeah, we'll just drop a bit of the brass on them just to give them a bit of covering of paint. Now, it's a bit confined for space in here at the moment because I've got quite a few builds on the bench, so I'm going to be twisting and turning and trying to get this so that the bow of the ship isn't knocking any of the other builds I've got on the go. So apologies if I do go a little bit skew-whiffed or out of shot or whatever. I shall try my best not to. He says optimistically hoping he doesn't. So the angles of this might just be a bit awkward. But all I'm doing is I'm just brush coating the brass on each blade of the propeller. And I'm trying to work my way to try and replicate some of the scrape marks on a propeller for when they machine the surface or mill the surface, whatever they do with it. So I'm not looking for a perfectly smooth finish. I want it a bit rough and ready because this was early 1900s, wasn't it? But yeah, I reckon she's going to look pretty damn nice with a couple of warm LEDs in there. I don't want it too bright. That's the key for me. I just want it subtle. Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. Faster and subtle were said in the same sentence. That will come on to propeller number 3. Give that a slap like that. A little bit along there. And it's these little details that start bringing her to life. And yeah, it's one of those. I mean, my missus bought me this. We went up the Whitby for a couple of days and just had a weekend away. And yeah, on the way home, she went, "Oh, by the way," she said, "Oh, I got you a couple of kits," and I was chuffed to bits. This was one of them, and it's like, yeah, and it's the Titanic, isn't it? It was, yeah. Everyone has a bit of affection for Titanic. So again, I'm just going to roughly paint this just to give it a bit of a base, and then when I put the decal on, the plaque's got a bit of old gold over brass type of thing, and it's, yeah, just gives you a bit of definition, doesn't it? Deftly brush along the edge of the frame, and then we'll slap it right in the middle and give the middle a coat of it as well. Not too worried about how smooth it is because it's got decal going over it, don't forget, folks. So just slather that along there like that. Poor old paintbrush is getting well slathered with paint in it. Yeah. But hey, get it be cleaned in a minute. It gives me an excuse to get the master's brush cleaner out and sit there and smell it. It's like, yeah. We all do it. We've all got a pot on our bench and we're like, oh. And I've got a little bit of a mixture here that I've concocted that I put a couple of drops with me model colour paint, and it thins it down enough to really make it brush quite thin, almost like a blend or a glaze even, so what are we going to do with her now? Yeah, I think we can come along and just give the white another little brush coat, get some of that going. And I'm using a game colour on this because it's quite a vibrant white. I think it's dead white if I remember rightly. And I find it just gives it that depth. I say depth, but that bright whiteness that I'm after. Because of how far she's going to be away from me when I'm sitting here in the cave, yeah, it'll be shinier than a diamond in the goat's Harris from that distance. It's gonna, yeah, have that effect. So we'll just work our way along around the window frames and that. Dare I say it, will be ready for a bit of joinage. So I've just got to drop my LEDs in. I've got that all ready to go in. So it's only going to be 6 bulbs going in there, just light up different areas of the ship there. So not a massive amount of wiring on this one. So those of you that know your electronics, there's loads of stuff on Google. I don't get too much into the thing with electronics nowadays, purely and simply because it upsets people. So I keep it to myself a little bit now. So we'll just brush that along there, like so. work our way along towards the bow in the recesses there. I've got to try and remember now where I put the decals for this. I stuck them down somewhere and I can't find them. But anyway, I'll carry on looking around the man cave and see whether I can find them. They can't be too far away. I've put them somewhere safe, that's what it is. So we'll just brush our way along the edge of that, like so. Just keep going. It's actually quite therapeutic sitting here with the hairy stick for a change, if I'm honest. Just definitely sweep along there. I already see a couple of bits that I'm going to have to go back over, but hey, you know. She'll look alright when she's all sorted. A couple of little bit of touch-ups, don't hurt. Get a little bit more paint on the wet palette there, I think. That's it. Just work my way along. Just pick out any areas that need that little bit more TLC. And just literally brush off the edge there. Like that. Yeah. And then we can scoop along there, like so. Bink. Have you a bit of that. Just capture that edge there. Drag that along. There you go, there. Have you a bit of that. Yeah, we're coming to the good side now. Cool, Bennett, got some touching up to do there, Cole, ain't you, okay? Well, wonkier than wonky, mate. Yeah. Not to worry. Try and get this in a position where I can actually hold it on shot. There you go. Apologies for the shakes. That's because I'm trying to concentrate, see? And that's what I find. I was chatting to a friend of mine, Adi, about this. And Sarge is very similar, he won't mind me saying. And we find that the harder we're trying to concentrate and keep from shaking, the more you end up shaking. It's one of those weird things that drives all three of us absolutely mad. But yeah. Like so. And then we can do the same as what we did on the other side with this bit of deck. Just slather it along there, just to get rid of some of the faded white, just to bring it back with a bit more vibrance is what we're after. Because there's quite a few little white spots in the black as well where some of the windows are, so that'll get another coat, and then that'll be the one that gets the proper, nice straight lines and everything. So yeah, that'll be the coat that cleans everything up. So this will probably go off for 24 hours, this, and I'll then see what she's looking like. Let's put some white in a few places on these decks because they're going behind the bits I've just painted, and I want some slightly darker than others because the lights are off in some bits, so they would be in shadow. So that's the theory. So not all of that is going to get done in vibrant white. There's going to be a few areas that get left slightly dark, so that they're in shadow behind there. So yeah. So we'll just do that. And I think it's time for a quick cup of tea then, and I think we'll have the fun job. I'll just scoot along here with a paintbrush, have a quick move around, grab me bits and pieces, and then we'll be doing the rigging on the funnels, I reckon. So what do we need? Pot of super glue. Yeah, the world's scuzziest bottle, I know. Probably get a couple of sets of the forceps out, just in case they come in handy. And I should be putting this on with a cocktail stick, and I'll be using my little spool of easy line. And this is like elastic. Boing, 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 boing. Yeah. The kit does come with the obligatory cardboard insert of string, but yeah, I just prefer using easy line. And I usually nip some off with a set of cutters and put a little blob of super glue in the hole that I've pre-drilled in the deck, and then I should just press this in with a pin, let it dry, and then stretch it up to the funnel. If you look at the back funnel where the steam comes out, you'll see 3 pieces already in there, because I thought I'd have a little play off camera just to make sure my theory works. So apologies for my hands getting in the way. I will try and change the camera angle in the future to try and capture angles a little bit better. But it's basically a bit of super glue in the hole, and then I'll use a paper clip or a pin. I might even get my mechanical pencil out that's got the sewing needle in the end and use that as well. So we'll just carry on cutting little bits off, and I'll see whether doing them singularly or as a group works better. I don't know, we'll see. I must order a new bottle of super glue because this one's getting a bit ruined now. Mind you, I have had it a good few years, and I'm sure, I can't remember whether it was Ted that said that super glue can go off, so it's gone like wallpaper paste in the bottom of the bottle, and it's not great. But for this it'll do. It's its last job before the bottle gets recycled, so just press them in. Just to let them hold in place. And then we'll see how they start going together. Because I'll thread them in from the outside on the funnel, because there's 3 holes drilled in each funnel, and then use the forceps to pull them up through inside, and then I'll just put a little wob of super glue in the funnel and glue the other end in, I reckon, and I reckon that should work. So yeah, so we'll just make the hole a little bit bigger on that side. And this is where this paper clip comes in handy, because I just push it through the hole and it just elongates it enough to put a blob of super glue in, so that when I push the thread in, it just accepts it, and then I can then paint over the dried piece of super glue. So I'll snip that bit off. Actually, that looks a little bit short there. I might be being optimistic with this one, so we'll have a look. See whether it goes. If it doesn't, I'll cut another bit. There's a tiny little hole on the deck there, and I'm just basically filling the hole with the super glue. And then I'll use the pin to push the easy line into the filled hole, so to speak, and it just gets bitten by the super glue. And then once it's cured, I can then thread it up through the holes in the top. Apologies there, I'll literally start a voiceover and get the yawns. So we'll see about popping this one in like that. Try and persuade it to fit. It will comply. Resistance will be futile. So I'll just press that in. Persuasion. And like I say, I've got both sides of this to do, so I'll probably do a few of these on this side. Let's see about getting one side complete. And then I'll do the other one off camera, I reckon. Because you'll get the gist of it by then, and yeah. So that's that one in. So we'll let that cure. And then we'll start putting in some of these top ones now. Let's see whether we can get them in place. But yeah, I'm looking at replacing the down cam that I've got set up with a higher def one, so that I can film from different angles and then cobble the bits together, so that if my hand gets in the way like it is now, at least I've got the option then of giving you guys an alternate view. Excuse me. So that you can see what we're doing. Grab that with a forceps and just bring that under a bit of tension. Give it a tug against the blob of super glue and let that settle. So that just brings them under tension then. Now they've cured, I can just give them a haircut. Because we've got the funnel caps to go on yet as well. So they'll hide all of that inside. So everyone's a winner. That's the plan anyway. Well, I reckon that that'll look pretty damn good. So that's the theory anyway. So carry on. Do this funnel. Yeah. That one actually does look a little bit optimistic there, Cole, doesn't it? Yeah. I think we'll do another one there, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I think Festival's been optimistic with that one. I would have tied that on and it would have bolted the funnel over. Yeah, knock your super glue over, Cole. Yeah. So we've elongated the hole slightly. Now we can just drop in a little tad of super glue, and I'm sitting here realising I'm like, oh, getting a bit heady here. And it's like, yeah, put the cap back on the super glue between uses, Cole, and you won't be inhaling the fumes, mate. So I've just opened my window and put me extractor on because, yeah, don't want me singing and quoting Shakespeare, do we? Because I'm getting a bit heady now. So, yeah. Do another bit. Try and get this back in that hole. Because I put it in and literally moved and it had stuck to my finger and it pulled it straight back out again. And we really don't want to be doing that, do we? So there you go. That's in there. Probably on the bigger one, it probably looks a lot more, it's probably got more stuff to tie this onto, but on this little tiny kit, it's out with a pin vise and drill, and it's a little bit of a faff, if I'm honest, but like you say, do it in stages. You know, if you do a couple on one side on one funnel and you think, oh, I've had enough of that, then have a rest for the night. Come back at it, do it in little bits. It's like tank tracks. Sergeant Bones, a good friend of mine, you know, people dread tank tracks. And he said, well, he does them in blocks of 10. And he'll do 10, sit there and do them, start getting the ump with it. So then he stops at 10 and goes and does something else. And then the following day he comes back and he does another 10. You know, and then he'll put a few sections together. And, you know, before long he's got the complete track. So it's a really good top tip, to be quite honest with you. So I've tended to apply that to different aspects of builds now. One of those Sarge says moments. So, a man of many tips. So I'll just grab that one. Have a little press in with the blade on this one, I think. Try not to do Captain Twitchy and stab yourself in the finger though, Fester, won't you? Because, yeah, that'll only go well, won't it? Should we, try this one, like so. And then we'll put the rest of them in like that. Just persuade it to go in. And there you go. If by magic they're in. Like that. You may have noticed the deft bit of editing. But yeah, the twitchies are done, so we just now can pull them out of there and get them all in the glue, and then we can cut them all off, and that'll be the funnels rigged on that side. And like I say, I shall do the rest off shot, and then when we come back in the next episode we can start giving the funnels a little bit of a coat of paint. I'll give the first coat of black on the tips. I'll do that because I've already had a quick go at them just to get a first layer on, so I'll do them. It's just flat black. I'll try my colours that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of using Abtai Lung Ochre, ABT 92 to be precise. And I think that the oil will do the funnel quite nice. That's my theory anyway. So that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to test the steam funnel with that. So when we come up to the next episode, the black tops will be done and one funnel will have ochre on it just to see. And then we'll sit and do the rest of them. Alright. So in the meantime, thanks for watching. We're going to leave it there and have a wrap up. Remember to click the bell on the channel to get notifications of when the videos are released, and I look forward to seeing you next time.